Hello, everybody. From Frets and Fingers, I'm Alex Picard, and you're watching the Jam Sesh. Today, we are joined by Bluegrass musician and content creator Graf. He posts instructional Bluegrass content along with absolutely ridiculous Bluegrass runs on his social media pages. Join us as we chat about the ins and outs of content creation, Bluegrass, guitar, business, and much more. Without further ado, Graf, welcome to the Jam Sesh.
Thanks so much, Alex. I appreciate being here. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so before we get into this, I know I just introduced you, but if you want to just give a little background on yourself and kind of how you kind of got to where you are right now.
Sure. How much time you got? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So Alex Graf, and yeah, I'm a bluegrass musician, and I kind of consider myself almost a jazz musician as well. I started off in jazz, kind of long, winding trail to end up where I am right now, but spent about, I guess technically 12-ish years really trying to get good at jazz. And I didn't fully get there. I wasn't like, like Cal Farlow or anything like that, but really went down that bebop route for a long time. And now I live in Southwest Colorado. I teach bluegrass. It's my passion. My kind of version of bluegrass with jazz infused, space grass, new acoustic music, if you will. Um, and yeah, I teach, I play, I recorded an album last year. Um, that's the long story short.
All right, so is like your like goal, I guess, to be like a performer, or do you kind of enjoy the instructional side of things?
I kind of like both equally, to tell you the truth. I don't think that, um, I don't anticipate ever becoming like a full touring musician. I don't think that's just not the lifestyle for me. It is for some. But you know, being an improviser, recording music in the bluegrass world, as well as teaching. I mean, my main focus right now is really teaching and working with students, which I love. So, yeah.
That's great, man. So, you you do like individual lessons as well, along with your platform, or do you kind of is it all through your platform?
It's mostly, I have a couple students here in Southwest Colorado who are the diehard students who've been with me for a while now, who I do in-person lessons with. But that's pretty much it for the in-person. If folks are in Durango and want to take a kind of one-off lesson with me, I always say yes to that, and I'm excited to do so. But the bulk of my teaching efforts are online at this point.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess for you at this point, like having people sign up for your page makes a lot more sense because if you're going to charge someone whatever it is for an hourly rate, they can almost get a couple months worth of your like information through your platform, right, at that price.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of a deal in that regard. And yeah, it's way cheaper to sign up for the site than it is for an hour of instruction. I think it's like for people who like to learn that way, it's way more valuable in a way. But I do love to. I mean, one on one, there is a difference, right? Like you can't really, because of latency, you can't really jam with anybody. You can't really play in real time, which is it's a huge thing, and it's the one downside of the online learning. Um, but hopefully, like with all those students who are online, I'll meet up with them at festivals down the line, and we'll be able to get that jam in.
Right. I think with bluegrass specifically, it's kind of newer to the bluegrass space. I've talked to a
Yeah,
couple bluegrass musicians, but yeah, it seems like it's very much about like playing live with people and like
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy. It's all about community. It's all about jamming. It's all about the jam circle. Like, you have people who go to bluegrass festivals, but everybody who's there is like they're pickers themselves, and they're like sitting in the audience because they love the music, but also because they're trying to learn, and they're gonna take whatever they learned in that live performance and use it in the jam like 2 hours later. And that's the crazy thing about bluegrass too, is like it's kind of rare to have a genre where you could have like top of their craft at a festival, and then they're all at the late night pick jamming because they love the community aspect of it. It's pretty incredible. Like other genres, it's almost like that. It's close, but it's not. I've never experienced anything quite like it. It's kind of cool.
Right. And so you're saying space grass. So ran into a band recently, like not in person, just online. It was called they called them they had Galaxy Grass. I don't know if it's like a I don't know if it's
Yeah,
similar tune or what's going on with
probably
that.
Galaxy Grass, man.
These
Yeah, is
guys named
that?
the Kitchen Dwellers. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, absolutely. I was trying to think, is it? Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of a play on that space grass thing. I mean, do you know the history of that, of like space grass, like
No, I
that word?
don't. Please,
Yeah. So
please indulge.
that's like a, it's a Tony Rice thing, right? And Tony is everybody's idol in terms of like bluegrass guitar, because he pioneered so many things. There are many pivotal bluegrass guitarists, but he gets a lot of the focus, especially in like more modern bluegrass, since like the 70s. um, and he kind of married um, bluegrass with jazz, along with David Grisman, and that's a huge part of his journey. And Grisman was doing that, and Vassar Clements and other folks were doing that. But Tony Rice kind of coined that word space grass. I think actually he named his truck Space Grass, or his Corvette maybe, that he drove around to festivals. But yeah, Space Grass is like, to me, what it is it's like the marriage of like this McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane modal jazz of the 60s, right, which is the predecessor for a lot of like Grateful Dead like jam bands, and then it marries it with bluegrass. And Tony did that in a way that was like, it married it with traditional bluegrass in this interesting way. And so that Galaxy Grass thing, I'm sure, I know that's a reference to, maybe more of the jam component. Maybe Space Grass is like a little more jazz. Galaxy Grass is like jam grass kind of in a way, but still harkens to that. So that's cool.
Right. Yeah. No. And I like for I've seen quite a bit of your content, and like you clearly have like a lot of skill like built up over time. Like, so how long have you been playing bluegrass? I know you said you started in jazz, but how long have you been like focused on the bluegrass realm?
Yeah, bluegrass took my life over about 5 years ago. Um, the crazy thing about me, which I've been honestly a little bit nervous to tell people, because there's this thing in bluegrass about authenticity, right? And across music, right? Is it authentic, right? And how do you perceive authenticity? And so um, I'm not afraid to say anymore, but like, I only learned bluegrass. I put it another way, 6 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to play you a lick of bluegrass. Like, I'm not joking. I have videos of myself playing. Um, I ask that version of Alex, and I would have been like, "What? What are you talking about?" Like, I can play some jazz, maybe play "Stella by Starlight," but um, So I've been playing for 17 years or so, and only the last 5 years have been absolutely all-consuming of my life bluegrass obsession. So
Right.
yeah.
You're putting a lot of hours in, I'm assuming too, right? Like it's not.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was one of the silver linings of COVID for me and for many people, right? And a lot of musicians in a way, even though we all lost our gigs and the lessons had to adjust, hopefully, to online. But then there was this newfound like source of creativity potentially, or just time, and that's really when I fast tracked a lot of that, and was able to dedicate time that I just found out of nowhere. So,
Right. Yeah. Like once, yeah, if you're putting like even an hour a day, like you'll see those like that jump in skill. But I'm sure
sure.
you're putting in more time than that. I wish I had like during COVID, I kind of just found like fingerstyle, like playing at that time. So I kind of got into like fingerstyle for probably 4 years, and then like last year, 4 years, yeah, no,
Yeah.
3 years, and then last year I kind of I stumbled upon, of course, like most people, Billy Strings, and then
Yeah.
slowly got into it, and
That's the
I'm
pipeline.
really like, yeah, I really like the bluegrass, yeah, and like recently I've been getting to like Molly Tuttle, Trey Hensley,
Oh yeah.
trying to think who else, I don't know, a couple other, but like he's like, yeah, Billy Strings is like, I was like, oh wow, he's so skilled, but then I saw you online, I've seen other guys, I'm like, man, is everyone just like crazy good at like picking? Like it's definitely an art form and skill that, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a premium put on um, virtuosity in a way, and also that's heightened by social media. That's the stuff that grabs your attention. Is like, what? Like, what was that? It doesn't not all bluegrass has to be like that or should be like that. Um, it's still it's really fun and yeah, um, that's kind of what drew me into it. Also, I'd say is just that wow factor. Like, what did I? How is that possible? Right? How's that physically possible to play that intensely and loud and clean like Billy does? It's yeah, it's compelling.
Right. Yeah, like
Yeah,
there was this video of him. He was in some custom guitar shop or vintage guitar shop, and he was playing some riff. One of the times he
for
was
sure.
there, and whatever that riff he played, I like fell in love with it, and I spent probably 8 months learning it, and was still definitely not up to speed. But
Yeah,
I found like, and then the last 3 months I haven't played it. Now it's a bit rusty. But talking with to lessons with Marcel there, Marcel Ardennes, he was
yep.
telling me he's like, he just goes in there and he's just put in a bunch of fills that he knows, and it's on the spot, and it kind of blows my mind a little bit. You know what I mean? Like that someone can do that. But
Yeah, and he's fluid with it, and it's just this. I mean, I think that's what like getting into bluegrass has really helped me realize that where jazz it didn't fully come across is that like improvising in that way and the way you improvise in jazz and bluegrass is similar in a lot of ways in terms of like how you approach it and like outline chord tones and like really bebop I guess is the similarity but like with what you're saying about Billy and with Marcel and how you think about improvising a line that fast is like improvisation isn't exactly what I think a lot of people think it is. Like it doesn't come from nowhere, right? Like it comes from practice. And a lot of these lines and like what you're talking about is like that lick. I have a similar experience with like learning that lick from that Carter vintage video of him just sitting alone with the room. And there's, I don't know, maybe we're thinking of the same lick, but there's this like, now I recognize it as like a Tony Rice floating lick where he's up the neck and then he uses an open string to get back down. And like that stuff is like standardized language. Like the deeper you get in the more you realize that like these licks they're improvised and the way they're arranged they're super improvised and they're like also like standardized ways of like navigating that like work really well with the technique you need to have. But that's a whole nother topic there. What a can of worms, a wormhole we could go down.
yeah, no, I can imagine. That's
Yeah,
I didn't really think of it that way, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that song is really sick. Like I still play it. Like I've been playing it like in the last couple weeks. I would say I've been back in it, and I'm enjoying getting back into it. I think I had it up to 100 BPMs,
nice.
and I think it's played at like 130 or 135. So
Yep,
still I feel like that's the gap though. You know what I mean?
totally.
But
Yep,
that's
it's
okay.
common.
It was my
Yeah,
first bluegrass song, so some But that was the thing. That's what upset me is like I'm learning something that he's just kind of making up on the spot. So it's like not really. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to explain, but it's like I should be kind of putting in my own fills, let's say. But at the same time, I don't know
hmm
any fills. And like you said, when it comes to improvisation, there's that level where it's not really improvisation. It's just playing all these different licks over time and then just filling them in whenever you see fit. Kind of right. Is
yeah,
that what you're kind of
yeah.
getting
Well,
at?
there's a lot of muscle memory involved. And that's good, and that's a fine way to improvise also, and will be effective. But like I think, even with that muscle memory, like someone like Billy or someone playing at a level like that, like we're trying to use the muscle memory to not fall and like totally get derailed. And at the same time, we're trying to go above that muscle memory and really put our own voice into it, right? Like that's, I mean, I don't need to tell you that. Like that's kind of improvising there, but it is muscle. Like some of this stuff is really muscle memory, and there's a heavy reliance on that. Like when you're playing that fast, like you're playing 130, you're playing faster than you can think. Really, like I don't know if you've ever had that feeling of like when you're improvising, catching that feeling of knowing what you're about to play before you play it. Like that's where we all want to be. But God, when the chords are going by that fast, like you have to be able to think. You need a lot of coffee to be able to think that fast. So muscle memory is useful.
Right. No,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I definitely don't know. Like, I've been playing guitar a long time too, but that's something where I would say my weakness is like I spent a lot of time just learning like difficult songs. You know what I mean? Where I have a lot of these now like skills in my backpack, but it's like that's one I would need to focus on these days. It's just a little bit of the improvisation and also theory because I feel like there was a kind of like a glass that broke or whatever, like a whatever the fuck it's called, like where I realized like, oh, guitar is just like piano, where it's like all about notes and theory, and that kind of like upset me at first. But now I'm starting to be like, okay, like yeah, I just got to learn. I got to get into the theory a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think both things of theory and guitar. Like you can find plenty of examples of unbelievably like musical, talented, best in their craft musicians who don't know a lick of music theory, right? Like it's not an absolute necessity, to be honest with you. And at the same time, I think like if you do know some, it can fast track. Like you can play by ear, like you really can in a way. Um, but I think like being more structured about it, like a little bit of theory can just totally compound the speed at which you learn, right? Because like you have the system to know more than just like one song. Like I know how to do this one thing in this one song. It's like to me the theory is you're able to apply that to everything. You can see like a big picture, unified picture. But you know, it is what it is. Theory is useful until it's not.
Right. Yeah, and I think bluegrass is definitely like heavily dependent in theory on on theory, just in terms of like needing to know your G runs, knowing whatever key
Mm.
you're in, needing to know your runs. So I guess there's that side of it. But at the same time, if you know your neck well, then you wouldn't, in theory, need the
I
theory
think
in
what
theory.
I would say, I kind of agree, but I think maybe a better word for what you're saying is like the language, right? Like if you can
Right.
also just know you can be so steeped in the language of bluegrass that you don't necessarily need, like music theory. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with Marcel there, he gave me like a quick lesson. He's like, it's like, for playing the 1 4 5, you go A. He was counting it out, and I was like, oh, it sounds simple when he kind of broke it down to very like simplistic terms, but I think it would just be something I would just need to spend more time on. And I thought
Yep,
about making a series about that, like where I sit down and I'm just like learning the bluegrass like theory applied to the bluegrass realm, because that's something I want to get into. I just want to be into the bluegrass. Like I think it's the next like technically like difficult and like something I want to learn. Like just get
you
better
should.
at it. Yeah.
It's really fun, and again, the community aspect. Like it's fine to learn it. I know I post a lot, right? I post a lot of stuff of just me, and just like shredding or just doing like by myself. But really, the reason that we all play bluegrass is just like we talked about already, is the community. Is just like sharing it with other people is like the ultimate like fulfilling feeling. Um, and that I would encourage you to do that as well. Like it's a little scary, but like it's the friendliest musical community you will ever meet. I stand by that firmly.
Yeah. And how's the community
Yeah.
out where you are? Pretty decent, or
For being like really, really isolated, like I'm talking Denver. When I say Colorado, they're like, "Oh, you live in the Front Range in Denver." I'm like, I live 7 hours away from Denver. Right? The closest airport to me, besides the small municipal airports, but like I guess it would be an international, even just national airport, is Albuquerque. Right? Like I'm closer. I sometimes say I live closer to. I mean, I don't sometimes say I live closer to New Mexico than I do Colorado.
right?
In a lot of ways, right? Um, the scene is rocking here for bluegrass. It is nuts. I can't believe I stumbled. I just happened to get into bluegrass here. I mean, there's a reason. It's because the scene is so awesome. I mean, we're close enough to Telluride, which, is a big festival spot. I mean, Colorado in general for bluegrass is like, if you're going to be west of the Mississippi, that's where you'd want to be, or California. That scene is obviously it's California, so it's just, a lot of people. Um, but like the Colorado scene is nuts already, and then we have just some like diehard bluegrass fans in this town in Durango where I live, who are just holding it down and have been really caring about trying to attract um, people to the festival here, and just a lot of people that care a lot. And so it's a small scene, right? It's not like thousands and thousands of pickers, but the crew here is so cool, and people like to come here to see music too, which is kind of fun. It's like a destination, almost not as much as Telluride, but for being a small town, isolated like we are, it's off the charts. It's great.
Right. And I think it's cool that you've like now you utilized content creation to kind of like go outside your hometown, right, and reach like a way broader audience. I forget you
Yeah.
have like I think Instagram you have over 50,000, 40 to
It's
50,000
almost
somewhere.
50. It's right
Yeah,
below 50. Yeah,
which is
right now.
amazing. Like
Who's
that's an
counting?
amazing. Yeah, yeah. Who's counting? But that's great, man. So like, what kind of got you into the like made the like make the decision to get into content creation?
I never really like thought I was gonna be like a content creator or anything like that. It was never an active decision. It was kind of more just like, beginning right before COVID. Um, and I got inspiration from people online. Like the crazy thing with bluegrass, I was thinking about this the other day, is it's a folk tradition, right? So much. I mean, like all music, if you trace it back enough, it's a folk tradition, and it's taught not in books or in schools, but like orally, um, the oral tradition. And the funny thing, and I'm sure somebody has written a dissertation or a thesis on this, is like YouTube has become a stand-in for people who don't have that community of people and mentors, right? And like the internet has become the spokesperson or the repository for that oral tradition in some ways, without getting too heady. Um, but like I just saw, like I had access to that. I had access to be able to see that, to see how cool it was, and then that inspired me. Like, hey, maybe I can do this. And I caught the bug. I was into Billy Strings and Tony Rice, and was like, why can't I do this? It was a challenge to myself at the beginning, right? And like a way to hold myself to something. I think at the beginning, I was like, all right, this is just going to be like transcription. I'm going to transcribe one classic bluegrass break per week, just one per week. And I put all this effort into it, and I would like film myself a bunch of times until I nailed it perfectly, and that would be it. And that would be, it was almost a way to stay connected and to stay practicing. And then I started to get hooked, and one thing turned into another, and now 4 years later, it's like I'm trying to bring more people in and like educate and like help them learn and help them on their journey. And it's kind of it's been a wild ride in that sense. Like um, this is a new thing, to be able to do that. I'm grateful, incredible.
Right. Yeah. And so you
Yeah,
focus mostly on your short form, eh?
yeah. I haven't really um, fully figured out like the YouTube thing. I'm trying to understand that better always. But yeah, the viral like short 7-second clips is really this has been the sweet spot for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like with yours you have the metronome in the background, tick tick tick, and then I like that you're talking as you're going. Like it's very engaging. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, it's
Yeah,
very engaging.
it's I had to work on that. It's a lot of things at once. Kind of have to be able to put a lot of it on autopilot. It's dumb.
No, it's good, and
Uh,
I find it is hard to break into like the long form content because short form it's you kind of just you can bust out a bunch of ideas, and then long form you're like, hey, I'm gonna spend a lot of time filming this one video,
yeah,
and then it's I don't know. I also have a hard time with that. That's why I'm doing these interviews because I really am into business and kind of music and guitar. So
yeah,
I'm like, let me try and figure something out where I can talk to all these content creators who are musicians and see if like
totally.
there's something here. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's more, yeah. I think there's just like the medium, the attention span stuff. Like the format is dictated to you by the length, really. And if it's Instagram or TikTok, even for me, it's like it's got to be short and sweet and to the point because people aren't really on there to like spend a lot of time learning something really deeply. So that, yeah, makes sense to me that you'd want to do like a podcast or an interview on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
For
separate.
sure.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah,
right. And like people, you have to kind of get to the point pretty quick. I find on like the shorts because like, and
yeah,
I like that about yours. Yours are like very fast because I don't know about you, but I've caught myself scrolling sometimes, and it's like I'm not even giving this guy 2 seconds or this person 2 seconds to tell me what's going on. I'm just like, yo, next, you know?
It's not even that the information is bad, right? Like it could be actually like an incredible piece of info or something really entertaining that they're going to get to, but it's just like how it, it just wires you to be like instant gratification for better or for worse. And it just is what it is. Like that's just how it works. It's like I kind of look at it like that. It's just like that's just the reality. It's not that the person who has long form on the wrong format isn't really good at what they do or isn't like doesn't have something really important or valuable to say. It's just the format. Like it's just how people's attention span works and what they're set up and primed for in a way. So
Yeah, there's
it
some
is what
days
it
where you're like,
is.
yeah, some days I'm scrolling, I'm like, I'll listen to all these guitar solos and different things people are playing, and then other days I'm like, I'd rather just watch people like, I don't know, act like people wipe out or just depends on the
Totally.
day.
Depends on, yeah. I totally get it.
Hey, so recently I noticed you said you kind of reset your platform in terms of like your lessons. So you're now with school. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Why you chose school? Is it through Alex Hormozy you heard about it? Like what's the deal there?
I actually didn't hear about it through him, although I've the algorithm has really hit me hard with his content at this point. Now that they know that I have interest in it, and it's you can't get away from it. He seems cool. He's good at what he does. Um, yeah, I kind of just stumbled upon it by chance. I have this my it's called Alex's Acoustic Club, which is the online video lessons. Is how it really started. Was the main thrust of it. It was all on my website, um, and basically it was paying for access to pre-recorded lessons. Um, and I thought that was good, and it was working all right. And I added like one Zoom group coaching kind of lesson per month, to try to help people, because what I realized is that like it's just with the video lessons just hosted on your website, it's like still very one-sided, and it like I was trying to answer people's questions. Like I get emails, I like some people would ask for like a lesson in addition, and I just felt like I wasn't really offering people what I was saying I was offering them, and like I wasn't helping them in the way that like I desired to. Like it's cool to just put out the information, but to really help people work through it is a whole nother thing. And that's what I wanted to do. So I was kind of looking for like a platform like that. Like there are a million out there now these days as online education is just like flourishing. And I just kind of like stumbled upon school, um, and like through like trying to learn how to craft my platform, I got like sucked into somebody else's just like free school kind of like mentoring kind of like community. And I was like totally free. I didn't pay for it. So I'm always trying to like reverse engineer, but I saw how it worked, and I just like saw how people were supporting each other in the community, and I was like, wow, this is so powerful. And it's not just like all talk or all hat no cattle, as they say. And um, it just like is so streamlined too. Like I know folks who use other platforms, and the other platforms, I've heard really good things, but for me, just how I work it, like it's super streamlined, and I like it a lot. That being said, I've only been running my platform on school, full disclosure, so take this all with a grain of salt, right? Since what, 5 days ago. So, right, some of the excitement is like, oh, new platform, new shiny thing, right? But just what I've seen from like the engagement, like the level of engagement, like I am guiding people to like there's courses on there, like learning pathways, and then there's this like community feature where people are asking questions and they're answering each other's questions, and coming up with solutions to each other's problems without me. Like I'm super active on there, and I do help out a lot, and I comment on everything, but also other people are just taking it upon themselves to help other people. And it's just like, holy cow, that's exactly like, if you say the platform has community, does it have that? that's community, like online at least, right? And so it's been really cool. I'm obviously pretty hyped on it right now, as you can tell, but it's a cool platform. Again, is it the only one? No, no, I mean, plenty, right? But I consider it. It's been useful.
What did you were you on Patreon before that?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Never was on Patreon. No, I kind of wanted to host, I considered Patreon, but I wanted to host everything just like on my website to have like full control over that stuff and be able to like work on the back end and how it was presented, and like try to provide features to people that Patreon didn't have. And of course, I switched to a new platform because I couldn't I couldn't do all that coding or design it as good as like a legitimate learning platform could. But I think that's kind of the interesting thing about Patreon, and it's worth a discussion and thinking about if people are thinking of getting into that. Is like, what are you doing with your content or whatever you're offering? Like, it's interesting. Like, is Patreon like a learning platform? I think they're wanting to move in that direction from what it seems like. Um, but I don't know. It seems like YouTube is more of a learning platform for Patreon users. I could be totally off base with this because I've never used it, but like YouTube for a lot of those folks is like the place where people learn and comment, and then they come on to Patreon to get a little bit more exclusive access or feel like they have been given so much for free on YouTube that they like out of a sense of duty want to make sure that the creator is able to continue doing it to the scale that they want, So yeah, Patreon's interesting. Um, I categorize it a little bit different in my mind.
Right, and I think that's pretty cool that you're trying to pull it off and like pull it off of like and have your own website. So I guess school you end up writing your own. It's your own website then through school.
No, it's like your own learning space, but it still goes to like the school domain.
Okay.
So it's unlike that would be like I think like Thinkific or like Kajabi. I think they would give you like that would be hosted like as if it were your own website, like alexgrafmusic.com, right? It wouldn't be Kajabi or thinkific.com/alexgraph. This is school.com/Alex's Acoustic Club. So it's like their platform, my course, my community.
And do you get access to their emails? Whoever signs up with you, do you get their
Um,
emails?
yes, I have their emails, and also it's like I have, yeah, I have their whole profile, whatever they want to throw in their phone number, email. But it's like once they're in there, like I'm in direct line of communication, so there's like no need for them to be on an email list necessarily because it's like
Right.
if you're in, we're talking every day.
Right. Yeah, no, there's
you
this
know.
guy I follow. I don't. I'm gonna forget his name now, but I've been following him for the last like month. His name's James or Jamie something. He's like a personal trainer, but he runs like a larger business of personal training
Yeah.
and teaching people how to like start their personal training business online. Anyways, he was talking about like if you have a strong email list, then you can seriously like monetize yourself. So I was just curious to see if you do have access to people's emails that way. I don't know what you would do with people's emails. Like I'm not 100% certain, but I'm just apparently that's something that's very valuable at some point. But that's neither here nor there. So for you, you run this, you have this platform. Do you also sell courses, or you just have the you entrance fee per month? That's where you're at.
Yeah, really for right now the like courses, I mean they're not like fully like I didn't plan it fully as or and record it as one course, but they're like I call it like learning pathways because they are chronological like rhythm 101, then rhythm 102, right? Like it builds. Um, so I don't like sell those as their own or offer those as like their own unit that you can purchase. It's like you get access with the membership per month. So in a way, it's like I mean, I think it's probably cheaper for people, to be honest with you. I'm thinking of like I have a bunch of other. I want to do long form stuff like that. Like I have a whole rhythm, like full like webinar presentation I'm working on, and then also this like really the whole. goal was also to do a course eventually on like fretboard mastery for bluegrass acoustic guitarists, which I know it might not seem like it matters that much, but I think there is like some like bluegrass specific stuff that my way of looking at things kind of hinges on. But point is, I do want to do those eventually, and maybe offer them outside the course. But I think it's just or the community, right? I think the platform is going to be the entry point though, because it's like it just kind of makes more sense to me, and it's just like I want to have. I'm just nervous that if you buy the course and you have more questions, it's like there's no way for me to help you actually get better. Like, it's just like it's information, which is good, but I don't know. I just want to like help people one-on-one a lot more. So that's kind of where I'm going.
That's respectable, man. And I think the people who do the best and are most successful are people who like care, and you seem to actually like give a shit, which is important. So I don't know, like, good on you, man. Like,
yeah, I hope. Yeah, I just I think the more people that know how to play bluegrass, the better off I am. So at the end of the day, it's selfish because I have more people to jam with. So maybe that changes your mind about am I a good person or not. It's selfish at the end of the day.
yeah, but at the end of like you're also trying to make a living doing this, and it's important to build out something that is valuable. And if you're providing value like you are, and you are charging a good price for your entry point into your because I've seen people where they charge $4.99 for like a whatever the entry level, and then there's like a medium level, and then platinum, whatever. But I think you just have the one entry point, which I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think you have a unique take on your approach to like teaching and through your content. So I think it's interesting because you are building that relationship with your audience by just being yourself on video, and I think that's probably the hardest part of the content creation side of things is like putting your face out there and just being your genuine self, Yep.
It's the most important thing though. Like people can read through when you're not being genuine if you have ulterior motives. So there's that. And then just like, I think I finally just arrived at, I did care about that a lot more about like putting on a face, about looking, like I said, like the authenticity thing, like, oh my God, all this anxiety around it. And it's like, man, just getting to a point where you just don't really give a shit about that is like such a freeing thing. Not that you don't care, but you just like, I hope that everybody, the more we age and become adults, the more we can give less shits about what other people think about us, because it's just not worthwhile. When it comes to our music, when it comes to who we are as people and just like being who we are, it's just like, it's important. So, yeah, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's hard when you have, family, friends, colleagues from work, different things, and you're putting yourself online. They're not going to understand what's going on in your head and what your drive and goal is, right? So it's hard to sometimes to put yourself out there, but
Sure. Totally is. Totally.
Have you worked with any like businesses or like brands or anything to this point?
Nope. No, I have not. I don't know how that works, to tell you the truth. I don't know much about it.
Fair enough, man.
I know about business until I don't.
Yeah, I think it's something. It's just a learning curve, and same for me. I worked with one. I actually worked with the Kitchen Dwellers. That's why I said I worked with them.
Oh heck yeah!
They paid me a little bit of money to promote their new song, and that was my first deal. And almost a year of content creation. It was like the first money I got, and I was like, yes,
Yeah,
like,
heck yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice to get those little wins along the way, right? And
absolutely, yeah,
pushes you forward.
Encouraging, yeah.
100%, man. But I kind of want to dive a little bit more into your platform. So, the school platform.
Yes.
So in your reels, like I've watched quite a few of your reels when they pop up, but I haven't seen them all. So,
yeah,
are you doing a lot of call to actions, like being, hey, like come join my Alex's acoustic club kind of thing, or are they just kind of naturally kind of trickling in?
I'm not really doing that in reels. I occasionally do that in reels, but those reels that I'm doing it in are more like going to turn into ads, right? That I'll like boost on Instagram. For the most part, I'm doing those like more call to action-y things on Instagram stories more than anything else, to be honest with you, because I just, I feel like we're so bombarded by ads on all these social platforms that it really just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths sometimes if you go about it in the wrong way. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no right way or wrong way, but I just think that people are not super stoked if they watch something and they're like, oh, that was just an ad to trick me or something, like I don't want it to feel like that. And it doesn't always have to, but I just don't really do that in reels so much unless the reel is like gonna be an ad. Yeah, that's how it works for me.
No, that makes sense. And do you so you pay for advertising through Instagram?
Yeah, just through Instagram, like I'll boost those reels that are like crafted specifically as ads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know the U.S. might be different because, like, here in Canada, unfortunately, TikTok doesn't pay me, Instagram doesn't really pay me, nothing pays me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Except for YouTube, and I'm not monetized on YouTube yet.
Yeah.
Yet. I'll be there soon.
Yeah, we'll get you there.
Hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, so wait, where was I going with this?
Monetized Instagram, reels.
I was asking. Oh yeah, so US you can get monetized right on Instagram, like you could get paid for your views, or not really?
I guess so. I'm not.
No way. There's like
No.
I think there's a bonus program. That's what I think I'm thinking of. There's like they
Yeah.
to be
I like
bonuses.
on the back end of like my Instagram, like I see sometimes like the word monetize and it's always like red. It's like not. I don't know what that means even. I don't know what that would look like for TikTok, or like I know about like affiliates or whatever, like selling products, like people, like you would, but I don't know about views. I don't know how that works at all.
Okay, so and your TikTok's not monetized then? Are you on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok. It's so different, like what people want to see, right? I'll cross post, and it doesn't really do super well on like even the educational stuff that does really well on Instagram. It doesn't really. It's just a different platform. But I only have like 5,000 barely folks on TikTok, but so that's absolutely not monetized or whatever. Whatever they say, yeah.
It's funny, what works on TikTok, what doesn't work on Instagram. See, like I had some videos because mine's just like I don't know if you saw it. I just asked people to play guitar on the streets.
Yes.
Like, that does really well on TikTok. Like I have like over 100,000 on TikTok.
Yeah.
Followers, which obviously in Canada this doesn't pay anything, which is fine. I'm more about just like building this big platform and at some point figure out how I can monetize it. That's not the goal right now. I'm in my first year. Like I just hit my first year mark. I'm okay. Go another 2 years like this and just figure it out there.
I respect it. That's great.
And
yeah.
So how long have you been going on social media? I know you said you were talking about like during COVID, but like when did you actually start your Instagram account?
I mean, do you really want to know that, right? Like that's 2010 or something like that?
Oh, sorry, not start your actual Instagram account. Sorry, start like regularly posting.
Yeah.
And then start like promoting your. Yeah.
Probably like COVID, like March 2020 is when I started like posting stuff, and then I got like really serious about it like 1 to 2 years in. Yeah.
Okay, that's actually okay. That's not bad. I mean, people from the front end wouldn't. They're like, oh, he's lucky to have that, but you've obviously put in like a million hours into this, and also on top of that, all the practice and information you've gained or knowledge you've gained just from practicing that much. Now you're able to share that with your audience for free, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's no such thing to me as like the overnight. I mean, I think on TikTok you could get that overnight like viral video, but for the most part, like it was a lot of hours spent. Oh, like I didn't get the perfect take. Oh, let me do that again. Oh, let me, and there's a story about how to optimize that and make it less cumbersome too. We could go there.
Story about that from you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just like
for
me, like at the beginning, it was all about perfection, all about like creating this piece of content that was like absolutely perfect, and I smoothed it out like not in like post-production, but like, in my playing, and it was like so stressful. And then you post it, and then you have all that like, dopamine hit, or it flops and you hate your life and you're like, wow, what am I doing wrong? Like, I suck. What's going on? And that cycle was so draining. It's the worst part of social media, I would say. Well, one of the worst parts of social media. I guess you could probably name a couple other things that aren't great. But yeah, I think I've moved towards just like documenting my practice. So the thing you're saying about, okay, there's the all the content creation, the filming, and then there's the practice. I just turn those into the same thing. Like, I just film myself practicing. And I totally moved over to, like, in my brain, it was quantity over quality, but my quality level was like, I was so much like, it was perfectionist obsession. So like, really a reduce in quality was like, I realized it was fine. Like, people weren't like, this isn't up to your standards. Like, why would you post this? Like this, So I think there's like a natural, if you get burnt out on that type of stuff, either you're going to get burnt out and you're going to quit, or you're going to find a way to make it less of a burden to every day or every other day create content, make it easy on yourself, really.
Yeah, and you shoot, like, if you're gonna do like some content, will you shoot a couple like in one sitting, just so you're set up ready to go, and you'll just like bang out 4 or 5 videos? That's how you go about it?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's random, like I'll just do one. It's all of the above. It's not, I thought it was going to be super systemized, and I was like, okay, Monday, or Sunday or whatever, whenever I have free time, I'll like get ready and I'll create all these different clips. But then I even realized that was putting pressure on me in a way that was making me not like it and like really hate it, because then I felt like, okay, this is my chance. I blocked out this time. If I don't get in the quality stuff, then I'm not going to have anything. And so I didn't want to just do that. I wanted it to be like as fun as possible, which to me, just how my brain works, is like some of that, but also some of the spontaneous, like, oh, I'm practicing this thing. This is kind of cool. Check this out, internet. And I kind of got it. It's not perfect, but here you go. Like, what do you think of that? Right. And then just like doing it as much as possible. So I try to have fun with it as much as possible. And it is fun. I say that kind of jokingly, but it can also, it's work too, in a way.
I think it does, because Alexander Misko is, he's like a finger stylist. Anyways, I talked to him a couple weeks back, and he told me he spent like lots of money on these videos, and they just kind of don't do great. But then he'll just he had his one video he did, the real Slim Shady, and he had his hood on, and he was just kind of playing on the guitar and rapping, and it was just like spur of the moment, no production value, and that video is his best, most high performing video, just because it's so authentic in the moment. So I think it kind of makes sense, and yours is very much like that. It's like, like, obviously there's obviously some production quality, because you have that knowledge and you're kind of really focused on like sharing some good information, but at the same time it seems very just like action, like on the spot. So there is that authenticity. I don't know what I'm saying with that, but anyways.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so let's kind of move gears a little bit to your band, because you were saying you got a band. So do you guys perform often? Like, how does that all work?
I have a couple different bands that I've had playing a lot with, playing not so much with. A band called Tone Dog, which is like a bluegrass Colorado jammy power trio. We're not playing so much right now, and over the last couple of years, our bass player doesn't live in Durango anymore. But we hit it pretty hard a couple of years ago. We did some tours, played some pretty cool venues, played D's in Nashville, which was just like a highlight gig of my life. Just what a cool place that is. We don't play as much. And then like right now, especially with focusing so much on teaching, which I wasn't as much back then at the start of really getting into bluegrass, I'm kind of just like focusing on regional stuff. So I have this like traditional, like with a twist, like this like surrealist twist, bluegrass band called Alex Graf's Bluegrass Super Pack, and it's just kind of made up with whoever's around from the local scene. And ideally, like I'm playing with everybody from the local scene, and so everybody knows the set or some type of set and has that rapport with whatever ensemble it is, and we can just like play anytime, and it's low commitment. People are like in and out of Durango here all the time. It's hard. Like there's a transient population in a way for, especially for young people. So like people come and go. That's just like how it goes. So being able to play with everybody in a band is great.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. You went away for a second there.
Oh, okay. No, I heard everything. You kind of twitched a second there, but
okay.
I think we're all good. Yeah. Solid. No, that's cool, man. And okay, so you don't so you're not regularly like performing like once a week kind of thing at this point.
No. It's like more like once a month. Maybe twice a month, because I also sit in with a lot of different groups that call me in Durango and go to the jams and stuff. So trying to play in the community, which I think is the most important thing, as much as possible while juggling it all.
Yeah, 100%. And now I ask all the musicians this: for your first gig you've played, or maybe your first paid gig, let's say, how much money did you make?
I was thinking about this. I don't think I realized you could get paid to play music until I was like into my 20s. Like, and I had played gigs before, like many gigs, and I didn't even realize that was like really a thing. And I don't know why. Like God, I can't tell you how many, like in high school, it was all like the fundraisers. Everyone loved playing the fundraisers. We thought it was so cool. Like, oh, do another fundraiser so that my band can play. Did a lot of Battle of the Bands, which, you don't really get paid unless you win. And, my band in high school I had a grunge 3-piece in high school. And we were playing Battle of the Bands at these skate parks against like these metalcore bands. And they were like so good. They were like ridiculously technical. And I was like, that's not real. Like that, they can't be, that technically proficient. And I was just like playing sloppy power chords. Man, it gets me thinking about all those gigs. I mean, first paid gig, I think I probably went about it opposite than most people, because I didn't even realize you'd get paid. And then I stumbled onto like this jazz gig that I don't know if it was my first gig ever, but I remember it was the first gig where I was like, oh my God, you can get paid for music. Like, really? I made like $300 in a gig. Again, I don't know if it's my first gig. And I was like, oh my God, that's like money. That's not just like, $5 or a beer or something. Like that's like almost not really adult money, but it felt like it at the time.
Yeah, that's pretty solid, man. That's okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah, your first response, that's pretty funny. I'll probably use that for because I made a short recently where I had like 5, like the last 5 people I asked. So I'll probably use that first part. Maybe I'll include both parts, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
seriously. You didn't even know. That's crazy.
Seriously.
Yeah, and in terms of bluegrass, so I know like the blue chip picks is kind of like a big thing in the bluegrass world. So what?
Yeah.
I don't know, what pick do you use?
I like the blue chips. It's actually funny that you mentioned that. I carry around like this many picks every single day. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 picks are in my pocket at all times. And I've gone through all of these at one point or another, and I just keep them with me just in case on a whim I want to change. But basically, yeah, Matthew Goines, blue chip, indestructible material here. Doesn't have that much of a pick sound. And they just don't wear. They never do. I like the TAD 60 with all 3 sides rounded and the bevel. I guess this one doesn't have a bevel, but the one I use has a bevel most. But I've gone through all different blue chips. I mean, like,
really? Okay.
I'm not trying to like brag or anything, but like this is like $400 worth of picks right here. in my pocket.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and those are tone. You have the tone slab there as well.
Yeah, this is like the OG tone slab. If somebody like robbed me, I would have no cash on me, but they could make a pretty penny pawning these picks. Like, I guess I shouldn't say that out loud because now I'm in trouble here. But yeah, this is like an OG tone slab. This is a great pick. They improved their picks. I haven't got one yet. People rave about them, like on the level with Blue Chip. I have other picks of other unnamed natural substances in my pocket here. And also, like, for if I ever play electric guitar, I have some cool, I think these are just like, what are these? I don't even know what these are. Not the prime tone. Dunlop, maybe? My friend put me onto these Ibanez really flexible picks so that you can, like, really dig in with like, if you're playing with the tube amp and get it to break up a little bit. So when I'm playing electric, which isn't too often, I play with those. But yeah, Blue Chip is my favorite at the moment. There are so many options when it comes to picks, though, for flat picking.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I got last year. I saw like the rig rundown with Billy Strings. He was talking. I got the Blue Chip TP48, and I was like, "Yo, let me go get one." But in Canada with the shipping, it's like $70 for one pick, and I'm like, okay, let me like not do this right now. So I got the Gin Dunlops, the Prime Tones. I think
those are great.
I think I have the Prime. Yeah, the Prime. I still.
They're I've picked with those a lot. Those are great.
Yeah, but then I ended up picking up. Can you see? There you go. I got the TP48, and then I actually interviewed Goin. Yes, sir. There you go. I actually interviewed Goins. It was my first interview. It was actually him.
No way.
I was like, no way this guy agreed to do this.
Yeah.
And then after the interview, he sent me 3 more. So now I have 4 TP48s, and I'm like, it's great. I'm going to give away 2 of them, though. I'm going to be making a Blue Chip pick video at some point. I don't know when.
Nice.
Like I said, the baby's going to be coming in the next week or so I might not have time. But
you're going to get a little busy.
Yeah. My goal is to make a Blue Chip pick video, just kind of breaking them down. Because, like, just like you, like, I never used one before, and like I like using softer picks. I'm trying to see if I have any of my softer. Anyways, and like recently, I actually was just playing around with my softer pick. I was like, I want to do some strum, like just some open strumming, and I was like, man, this sounds like shit. Like I'd much rather be using the Blue Chip pick and just like strumming a little less intensely.
Yeah.
It just sounds warm and buttery. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but that's how it feels. Like.
Yeah, it pulls the tone out of the instrument, as they say. Yeah, pulls tone. Yeah. Pulls mad tone. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it's wild, man. Like I really like them, and it kind of makes sense why they're such a popular pick. And like you said, they don't wear down. My buddy though, he sent me a picture, and he's had one for 3 years, and it was pretty worn down after 3 years. But I think he plays like every day. So.
Yeah, I wonder how his wrist is doing.
Yeah. What does that mean? I'm just curious.
If you're picking that hard with a Blue Chip, you must have a lot of impact on your wrist. I mean, to me, that's the thing with these thicker picks is that you can kind of change. If you pick really hard, you can change where the impact lies. From if you're picking like this, which is not a great idea in my opinion. You can create more of a fist and then take more impact on like your thumb muscle and then wrist a little bit. So I just say that because if you're picking so hard that you're wearing down a Blue Chip, that must hurt.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And sorry, you hold it, okay? Because I learned from Marcel. That's how you're supposed to hold it. Kind of that sense, right? That's the better way to do it.
I think probably supposed to. I mean, I don't like any of the dogma stuff. What works for me is that I kind of hold the pick more like this, with like the fat part of my thumb, rather than fingertips. But I have a buddy, he's a really good flat picker. He holds it with his fingertips. He makes it work. It sounds fine. It's really your body. Everyone's hand is different. You can make any technique work, I think, as long as it's giving you the sound you want to achieve, and then B, isn't causing like undue stress or tension on your body. Like flat picking can hurt. You can injure yourself easily flat picking. like I have had lots of pain over the years. I've had to readjust things, like serious like back pain.
Oh, really?
Like no joke. It's a very common thing because of the tension, how people tense up. Um, but yeah, point is technique shouldn't cause that amount of tension, right? And so, but you can make it work. You can make it work playing like this if you really wanted to. I would recommend like Marcel, a little bit more of a fist. Take the impact with that part of your thumb, a little bit of your wrist. That works for me.
Right. Yeah, that song from the Vintage Guitar Shop, Village Strings, the one I told you, the first bluegrass song I learned, it was like I learned it like just with my fingers, and then I was up to like 90, 95 BPMs, and then I saw the video of Marcel talking about like holding it, like, and I was like, oh, I have to relearn this whole song now, like it was like from scratch. At least I had the left hand. The left hand was fine. It was
Yeah.
the right hand. I was like, okay, like I'm a beginner guitarist again, and talk about like going back, like I just spent 3 years finger picking, not
Yeah.
touching a pick, so it was kind of like a real pain in the ass. But you know what? Now we're here, like so.
That's the thing though. It's like, it's a technique. It's something that you relearn, you break the habit, and then you'll probably have at least a foundation to do whatever you want. Like, it's kind of like really, it goes a long way because you just have to relearn it once and then make tweaks along the way. But I totally get that. I have that conversation a lot with folks about like, oh my God, there's like a right way to hold a pick. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So
It's just something you wouldn't even think about, right? But no, 100%. And
I
so,
did not think about that until I started playing bluegrass. I never thought once when I was playing jazz about how I was holding a pick. It just worked. Like, I did not, like, it wasn't even a thing.
right, that's so funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think it might make sense in bluegrass where it's like your right hand has to be like very like versatile and you're
Yeah.
moving quick. So it's probably why. Like I don't know.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of like if you were talking to someone, I know you're talking about like you teach a lot of music, but if you were talking to a musician looking to get into content creation, what are some of those like tips you might give them starting out? That things you learned along the way, I guess.
It's kind of a couple different things. So like, man, so many pieces. I would say like most importantly, above all, is like we were talking about being yourself. Is like being your authentic self and doing it out of a place of like really maintaining that creative drive, and that reason why you love music in the first place should be coming through, like should be driving it in a way. Another thing I would say, and I've seen this a bunch on TikTok recently, like a warning for folks, like there are, and maybe you've seen this too, like some people who get pigeonholed into a niche that they didn't really want to be in because of the urgency, because of the desire to go viral, right? Like you have some musicians who started off playing music on like creating content around their music, and like it's hard to promote yourself doing that stuff, and sometimes it just like doesn't really hit well, and it's just difficult to do that. And so maybe they're like, let's try something completely different. Let me do a skit kind of related to music, but kind of like not related to what I want to do. And then that goes viral, and then now everybody followed them because they saw that video, and that's what they expect. And like, the like executives at TikTok and Instagram like are saying like, yeah, that's what you do now. Like you need, if that works, now that's what you do. And if you don't want to be in that position, and if you want to like have your music be the sole focus, I would just warn folks about trying too hard to go viral on something that is unrelated or is going to detract from the goal. Like having a little bit of intention about that. And that's why I think like the authenticity thing is really good. Not to say like you shouldn't, if you have something funny, like a funny skit, whatever, not to say like don't post it or don't do it, but just be conscious, like that can happen. I don't think it happens all too frequently, but that's just a scary thing in my mind. Like I wouldn't want to get pigeonholed like that. Yeah, I think just realness and authenticity is what people want to know about. And like whatever makes your music weird like dig into that. Like I want to see that. That's cool. Like that's incredible. Sorry, did I go away?
No, you're still there.
Good.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, like I want to see the weirdness. Like that's okay. Don't be afraid to like, oh, I have to conform. I have to like do what other people are doing. That's what we all want to see, is like something that's uniquely you. Like that's also just like burnout is a real thing. You know, you got to prioritize your mental health. You got to, you know, and some of this you can learn along the way. You don't have to necessarily go into it with all these defenses up and guards up, but a lot of people have, you know, myself included, it's like, it's a wild mental thing that happens on the internet, and people behave differently and they say things that they wouldn't say in real life. And you got to know that regardless of how good the content is or how authentic or earnest you are, there are just going to be people out there who say something or react in a way that is going to hurt your feelings. And you like being super utilitarian about it, I think, in a certain sense, like being honest about what this is accomplishing, and like that whole side of things is really important, has been to me. So I just, like, not that you have to have that all figured out, but just be aware that like that's a piece of it, and that's real. You know.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely haters on online, and like no matter, like you said, no matter what you post, someone's gonna be out there like trying to hate. And I learned the hard way not to I mean, I think most people do, not to respond to the hater comments. I respond to every comment as long as it's positive. If it's a negative comment, I usually just delete it, or I'll just leave it there. Because if you respond, then they're just coming back with another like hate sandwich, you know, like
it's an interesting thing. Yeah, I've evolved on that too. Like for the most part, I just don't respond, and if it's negative enough, it's just like block. I don't have time for this. Like it's just, if you're saying this to me, if somebody else comes in and is like, hey, that's not nice, or like that's not true, they're just gonna spit, like it's gonna be a snowball effect of just being an asshole to everybody. But it's funny because along the way, first I engaged with people, and that was obviously a really bad thing. Second, I was like, okay, people are going to they're just going to be people out there. Also, you can't control when people are seeing this, right? They could be scrolling on their phone. Their dog could have just died, and they see you. Like, you have no control when people are seeing stuff. So who knows what mindset they're in. So I had this list of like friendly backhanded stock phrases I would say to people. And so one time I posted this video, like I was pushing 170 BPM. It got like pretty viral in a sense. But there was somebody who was like, and I had the metronome on the 2s and 4s, right? And some people don't play like that or don't know what that sound is at first. And so my thought is that maybe he didn't know what was going on with the 2s and 4s metronome, but he was like, this is like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't even close. Like, what? And I was behind. Like, 170 is fast. I was behind. But, and I was like, all right, I'm going to use one of my stock phrases. And I thought this one was pretty good. It was just, bless your heart. That was my comment, right? Like, it's kind of backhanded, but it's also like, it sets you up so that you're like, oh, it's a little patronizing, you know? And, you know, it kind of diffused the situation. But the crazy thing is that it was so kind. People came to my defense and like, dude, like, come on, like, give him like, first of all, this is really hard. Second of all, he is pretty much in time. And people like started going after each other, and I felt responsible. And the sickest thing is that I know for a fact that elevated how many people, like, the controversy made that more viral, which is bad. But, you know, on the other side of things, not to just like totally go into this wormhole, I can go on tangents like that, but like, just one more thing is like on YouTube once, when I had totally evolved my thinking, was like, I'm just like not really going to respond to this stuff, or I'm just going to be like, you know, give it a thumbs up. Like, I saw the comment, it didn't hurt my feelings. Maybe they won't do it to the next person, right? Somebody commented on a YouTube short and was like, no, this sounds bad. And I was like, cool, man, thanks for your opinion, whatever. Didn't think much of it. It did weigh on my mind, like, darn, somebody doesn't like that. That's too bad. 2 days later, I get a comment on a short, and it was the same person. And he came back and said, hey, man, I just want to apologize for the other day. I was in like a really bad state of mind and just wanted to lash out, and I was totally wrong. Like, this is a public comment. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most wholesome thing I've ever seen on the internet. Like, you never see people returning and being like, I was wrong. Like, that doesn't really happen on the internet. Usually it's like, screw you. And so that just really made me realize, like what I was saying before, like, I have no control over when people are seeing this. Like, the worst thing in their life could have just happened, and here I am on their screen, right? And that's just the algorithms doing. And I didn't choose to be there, and kind of they didn't choose for me to be there in a way. I mean, they opened the app, but it's like, that's just another thing to kind of counterweight some of where that is coming from. It's like, you have no idea where people are seeing this. It's crazy. It's nuts. That's my soapbox.
No, I think that's a good approach. Like, have some positive, like, just hit them with something positive. Like, I do the same. Like, I'll just say, thanks for the comment, helps the algorithm, something like that.
Yeah,
just
right.
That's what I write. That's my template every time.
Yeah.
But I think I just kind of circle back to what you're saying about being authentic in your content is like super huge. I think you hit the head on the nail with that, and I think it's kind of hard to find that, but I think once you find your groove, I think you kind of run with it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good advice, and that's something I'm trying to still find. Because I'm trying to build a guitar platform and have like my personal brand, but not use my name. I have Frets and Fingers as my personal brand.
Yeah.
But then somehow not be the center. I don't know. I'm trying to just share. Like, I love watching people play guitar, so I'm just kind of trying to build my content around sharing other people's like guitar. And I have a couple of like ideas to like play my some of my songs. So I've put a lot of time into guitar too, and I'd love to share like, some of the songs I've learned and some of the different things. So I have some ideas because my goal is to get Lindsey Buckingham on the channel. Like, that would be the peak of my like existence.
Imagine that. That'd be a crazy interview, man.
Yeah, I've reached out to him twice. I was like, I reached out and then I wrote follow up and nothing yet. So my goal is to do like a day one of playing a Lindsey Buckingham riff till till he agrees to do an interview. Day two, and I got 8 of his songs that I know like really well. So there's 8 content pieces I could run. So anyways,
and you got they won't say no if you don't reach out, right? Like, if you don't reach out, it's never gonna happen. You gotta just reach out, and maybe one day you'll be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
let's do this.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Scott, right?
There you go. That's good.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, I don't want to hold up too much more of your time. But just one more. Like, any future plans for you? Like, things in the pipeline you've kind of got planned that maybe you want to share with people, or?
Oh, I'm slowly chipping away on one album, hopefully 2 albums by the end of the year. I've got a duo project I'm working on with my good buddy here in Durango, Eli Emmett. We're putting out, hopefully this year, we'll see. We'll record it this year. A duo album, 2 guitars, 2 voices, a mix of like our bluegrass kind of jazz stuff. Hoping to record with some iteration of the Super Pack, the Bluegrass Super Pack, my surrealist traditional bluegrass ensemble. Just trying to teach as much as possible. Like, really the goal is just like get as many people playing bluegrass as I possibly can. There's this crazy moment in bluegrass right now. We're so lucky. There's this wave. It's like suddenly really cool. And a lot of that is because of Billy Strings, because he's making it really cool again. I think it's always been cool, but he's reminding people of that. And just like trying to play as much as possible is the thing underlying everything. Is the thing that's most important to me is just like, getting better on my instrument, actually. That is what this is all about. Like, being able to express myself on my instrument. That's like the ultimate goal. That's like the 50-year plan. We'll see if I get there.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a great way to put it. And
yeah.
I think with Billy Strings especially, and then recently he was on Theo Vaughn, and then I heard he was mentioned he was mentioned on the Joe Rogan podcast recently too. So like, I feel like bluegrass is going to be hitting the forefront of it's making us more sack for sure.
What kind of conspiracy theories would Billy Strings and Joe Rogan talk about in that podcast? I think, man, it could go anywhere.
It really could. Yeah. I think they probably talk about, like, I didn't realize how many like drugs Billy had done, but on the Theo Von podcast, I listened to that whole thing and I was like, holy shit, like pretty serious stuff. So
That was a wild moment because I like some of those podcasts that Theo does. He's what a wacko, what a sense of humor he has. And I've listened to some of his podcasts and then like listened to a bunch of Billy Strings, and then they like collided and I was like, oh my God, what a meeting of the minds.
Right. Yeah.
They had a cool conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, Theo Von is pretty witty, and sometimes, man, some of his comments are just like so like nonchalant will come in, and like he's so funny if you catch him. You know what I mean? Like, man. Anyways,
I kind of love it when people don't catch it, and he has the same reaction. He kind of just like moves on, and like he's in on the inside joke, but it's so funny when they don't get it and they're like, yeah.
There's a compilation of like Joe Rogan missing Theo Von's like jokes or something. There was like a bunch of them that just like went over his head. Anyways,
that's good.
So, is there anything you want to? I know you kind of just went into like the albums and the things in the pipeline, but yeah, if there's anything you want to shout out for the people listening, like maybe your platform.
Yeah, look, I mean, like if you're interested in bluegrass guitar, I think what I've got going online is pretty special. Like really, if you're a beginner, that's good. If you know a little bit about bluegrass and you're struggling with like the community thing, I kind of like built the whole course, the platform for myself. Like I live kind of in isolation. I don't live in Nashville, and the community thing is the most rewarding thing about bluegrass. And so if you're feeling like you don't have that and you want like I always say like a roadmap. I have the roadmap mentor. That would be me. I'm here to guide you. And also like that community of people of like-minded learners. It's kind of the place for you to be. And I'd recommend just you don't have to sign up, but just DM me or reach out. I respond to everything and ask me about it. And I'll tell you if I think it would be good for you or not. That's the bulk of what I'm doing right now. So yeah, check it out at least. I mean, the school platform is kind of brand new and it's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, I direct folks to my website, alexgrafmusic.com. You can just, find my Instagram or my YouTube or search like Alex's Acoustic Club on the internet and you'll probably get directed the right way if the SEO is working. But yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast. Anytime I can talk to a musician, it's like, it's a good time, like you're my people for sure. Like I could keep going if you want.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I don't want to hold your time. Like I've had some of the podcasts ago, or like, I don't even know if it's a podcast. It's like an interview podcast / chat, whatever it's called. I've had them go, like Marcel's was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it just kind of flew by. But
it's hard to get us to shut up, man.
Yeah. No, it's good. Honestly, it's great. I love chatting. I'm learning a lot. And like, I really want to like have a platform where I can get people like you who are doing something like unique and special and kind of get your 2 cents on it and figure it out. But, maybe I'll check back in a year and see how the whole school thing's going and we can chat some more about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Anytime.
Yeah, maybe once your 2 albums get released, maybe we'll do that.
Don't hold me to that. That can take a long time, right?
Yeah, I already marked it in my calendar. So
okay, well, you're gonna hold me to it now. There we go. Now it's real.
Yeah, awesome. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for taking the time there, and I'll make sure to drop all your links in the video description and
cool.
Tag and everything.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alex. I appreciate the opportunity. What you're doing is a really cool thing, and I hope you continue and just don't stop. Yeah.
Awesome. Likewise, man.
Yeah. Right on.
Have a good rest of your day, brother.
Thank you. Catch you later.